Hey guys, you are watching our Below Deck Med after show. We're talking episode 8, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Daniel-san! What a funny episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to download, rate, and subscribe on YouTube and iTunes and leave us a big comment because we love to hear what you think. I'm your host, Jamie Banks, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JamieBanks_ and also on Facebook.
And I'm Angela Struck, and you can find me on Twitter at @TheAngelaStruck and on Instagram and Snapchat at Angela Struck.
Oh, she threw a Snapchat in there?
I did.
Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm Madison Conklin. You can find me on Twitter at Maddie Says This, and then on Instagram at Conklin, CONKLYNN, and on Snapchat at Maddie Conklin, MADDIE CONKLIN, Mike Rippe.
Wow, I don't even know what to say. Below Deck fans, what's up? Mike Rippe. You can find me all over social media. Everything they just said at Mike Rippe.
And we're also checking the live chat tonight, so be sure to tune in and give us a little comment, and we might read it. So the ultimate question, who has more game, Bobby or Danny?
Oh my God, it's not even a question. In my opinion, I thought Bobby was just like not wanting to lower and demean himself to interact with women in that way. It's very like chauvinistic. It was very like kind of just like crazy drunk frat boy nonsense. And Bobby's a man and Danny is a boy.
I was going to say, do you mean like this episode or like all around?
No, yeah.
Bobby all around has more game, but Daniel-san this episode had more game because, he threw himself out there. He was desperate, though.
Yeah,
that was
desperate.
A desperate,
that's what
like,
I mean.
Pay attention to me.
Not
Love
sexy.
Me.
Not sexy.
So this is for the girls to tell you. I can't really judge, but from watching what we saw tonight, in the episode, clearly Danny won tonight.
And
Bobby did go try to talk to the girl to get a kiss on the cheek.
That's true.
He failed in that. That's okay, but if we're gonna call a spade a spade, we gotta call a spade a spade.
Whoa. And he asked for a kiss on the lips.
Very different.
Which is very different. Bobby set the whole situation up for him, and then Danny came in and asked for a kiss on the cheek.
Of course, she gave a kiss on the cheek. She ran up the stage and started like dancing.
That go-go dancer probably could have gotten fired for kissing a guy on the lips on the job.
However,
kissing a guy on the cheek,
She also didn't give him a kiss on the cheek when he asked.
But he didn't ask for a kiss on the cheek.
He did.
No, he didn't.
He just said lips.
He just said
Bobby?
lips.
Oh, not a kiss on the cheek
No,
after?
he didn't ask
I don't
for
think
it.
so. I think he just
They had
did
different
lips
lines.
Yeah.
But I do see those points, but at the same time, I feel like Danny kind of was catering to the guests just because they really did want to get girls.
Yeah.
Right.
So I kind of see that point that he was kind of like, okay, come on onto the boat and let's hang out with these guys. And so that kind of was like good in some parts.
Also, we talked about this in predictions last week. He definitely did not drink.
Because
yes,
you're right. And I think that was my bad.
And so he didn't drink.
That was au naturel Danny.
Definitely brought a lot of people back to the boat.
Right.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really understand the point of that. They were like these desperate girls that just wanted to get a free dinner. And like none of them even got any action. None of those guys even got any action.
Yeah, well,
and they were all
Joseph,
just
chiming in. Joseph, the girls were so desperate. I don't know if they were desperate to get laid.
Guys were.
I
The
think it was just
guys
to
were
get,
desperate
like, money
though
spent on them.
too. Yeah, like they were. It was the whole thing was just like icky.
And when we say guys, we mean like, and there's nothing wrong with this, but like 45-plus-year-old men, but they acted like guys.
boys.
Yeah, boys. They acted like boys. Like everything was so like changed into a perverted joke.
Yeah.
Or they were just, and I get
He
it. They're on
literally sat at the
vacation.
table like this.
This
is
yeah.
like what a 3-year-old does.
They're
Yeah.
pretty hammered too.
I just
the
had
charter guys.
one word to describe it. It was cringeworthy.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
but
you're right.
Okay, if you guys were there and you saw like TV cameras and they're like, "Hey, come onto our yacht for free food," you wouldn't say yes?
Yeah.
Wait, what did you say?
Well, you
no,
wouldn't-
I wouldn't actually,
You
because
wouldn't.
I actually feel in that situation, you don't lead men on that way. Like, if you're not, like, wanting to do that whole thing, like, don't go do that.
You know what, though?
Like, I think that's really gross. And actually, Miriam Abraham said that Danny was acting like a pimp and not a deckhand. I totally agree. I thought it was gross and weird.
But
And
And
Sylvia.
Sylvia says there's nothing wrong with Danny. So we're getting all sorts of
But her
comments.
last name is Love.
But here's the thing.
selective reading.
I think that regardless, that who knows when they went to the boat, they may have still been interested from the beach to the boat, and then by the time on the boat, that's when they kind of started to probably think like,
I thought they thought
because they're trapped kind of.
And also we started to see like it felt like it was weirder on the boat when they started the dinner.
Like, you're exactly right. I feel like when they were getting the drinks, the girls were actually trying to impress the guys.
Right.
And then as the evening went on and the guys got like stupid and drunk and immature
creepy because they're like the girls' dad's age is what the guys were.
And like bromancing over Danny, I think they were like, ew, get me home.
It's just a bizarre.
I agree.
Type of
Yes. And because like Danny was being such a showboat, I don't know if you guys ever did broadcast, but there was this thing our teacher taught us when you do like a stand-up, never ride the tricycle. So like if you're doing a story on, I don't know, Danny was riding the freaking tricycle, dressing up as the Karate Kid, like coming in and and they were like, Daniel's son.
He was playing it up. He was totally playing it up. He loved it. And the thing that annoyed me about Danny is he was like,
Danny?
Danny.
Like,
of
Danny
course.
annoyed you about Danny?
Everything. Other than everything. What really annoyed me is he was like, I'm just trying to get us all get along. Guys, I'm so happy. Like, I helped the team out. But then the whole time he kept bringing up, like, oh, I was the MVP. They loved me so much. It was so obnoxious.
Right. And he like you said, wanted to rub it into everyone's face.
This is a good time to ask you guys, did you think that Danny was obnoxious in tonight's episode?
Yeah, please.
You let us know in the comments.
Let us know.
I was actually really impressed with the crew for being able to handle 13 guests for dinner, like impromptu like that. They really pulled it together. Yeah. And there wasn't any like mishaps in the kitchen or anything. They just got it together and it was good.
And there was no huge blow-up fight this episode, which you would have thought with Daniel's son being Daniel's son for the night.
At the end.
At the end, but like during when all those charter guests were on and like tight quarters and people were already pissed with him, everyone held their tongue.
True. It's interesting. Everybody is really kind of saying, and I guess it's true, he gave the guests what they wanted.
Yeah. He did. Yeah. Realistically, I think at this point too is that pretty much Danny could do anything, and you're either gonna be he either just annoys you, just his general being, or you're kind of like with him, and it's the same as the boat. Yeah. At this point, it's clearly their sides. Clearly, Ben is on Team Danny, Jen is on Team Danny, and the others are not.
Right.
And everyone else is against
it doesn't matter
because
if he's with the girls and he's doing it wrong, he's in trouble. If he's doing it right, it's too much. Yeah. So it is what it is. Some people you get along with, some people you don't. And it's just a choice, really. But
I mean, to me, it seemed like he was sucking up to them a little bit. But listen, at the end of the day, if he gave them the experience they wanted and they left happy, then I guess he did his job. And even though we find it gross, and I'm sure other people out there do too, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what they wanted.
Right.
So.
Well, and with that, I mean, he gave them what the charter guests wanted, but at the end of the charter, they didn't leave a big tip. Even though they left Daniel like an MVP tip and then everyone else, none of the crew members were very, I don't want to say not satisfied, but like they were kind of shocked as to how low their tip was. That's a little weird.
I wonder though about that, just because I've never yachted. I mean, it seemed like a lot of money to me.
Seemed like a lot
for 3 days.
Yeah. I
if you guys watch, do you think that they got enough tip and they're just at this point a little bit used to getting more, and or did they not get that much? Because it still seemed pretty nice. I mean, obviously they're the ones working hard and they wanted a little bit more and probably expected more, but it still seemed pretty good.
I totally agree. In fact, I was trying to do the math in my head. I was like, I would never want to feel rude if I was on this boat and gave the low tip. But like, how much do you give? If anybody out there knows, I'd like to know what percentage.
I mean, they are millionaires, so you would think that they would like have a little bit or could really throw it in there. But I would be happy with 1,000. I think that's awesome.
That's 1 month rent. So
I guess if you think about though, like what they're accustomed to, I'm sure there is like a standard, and you know, obviously that fell below it.
Yeah.
Well, I think they've done better all season, so this one was probably the lowest, and also,
it was the easiest charter though. The guys just wanted to get drunk, eat, slay some chicks, but they didn't. But hey, they had chicks come back to the boat, So it was like everything lined up for these charter guests.
Some people are saying that the guests may have had a little man crush, and not just in like a bromance way, and a real on Danny. And I actually agree.
Maybe he was also just living vicariously a little bit through a younger man
guy.
That had that energy
that
he maybe had.
I did write love the enthusiasm, and then I scratched it out because I got pissed off.
I think it brought them back to like their college days, and they felt felt like they were the man on the beach with the young guys and
the young guys, the hot,
and I think that's why they liked
guys,
being harsh to Bobby too, because Bobby's so good looking, and I think it was like, oh, the good looking guy that always scores the girls, like didn't get it this time.
They sided with underdog. Kind of.
Right, and they called Danny a ninja, and then Bobby the grasshopper, and then. Of course, you guys know, like, I'm Team Bobby all the way, but, like, Jerry ripped Bobby to shreds for his tattoo and just, like, saying he had no game and he was a pretender.
I didn't like that.
Like, okay, Jerry, I get that you're drunk, or he's the master charter guest, whatever, Jerry. But, yeah, it was like, dude, relax, okay?
But I thought it was a good moment for Bobby, too, though, because Bobby... The thing I like about Bobby is that even in the moments where maybe he's not shining or he's able to like hold off and just be reserved and play his role in the moment, it shows that he's got a good heart, and I appreciated how he was taking that without lashing out backwards, and he was just like, he was obviously frustrated by the situation, but he was still doing his job and just trying to get through the moments.
Completely agree. I wonder how some other macho guys would take that. Probably not that nicely.
How do you guys think Brian would react?
That I was just thinking that. I actually like Brian, so I wasn't going to actually throw Brian under the bus, but I don't know if he would respond so nicely to it. To me, you wouldn't go to a restaurant and start making fun of how a waiter looks to their face. It's like just like rude.
Point.
Like
good point.
I thought it was really lowbrow and rude and not nice, and
that's why I think the entire this charter was kind of cringeworthy.
Yeah,
just the general feel
the whole
of it.
thing was kind of icky.
Yeah.
I feel like I need a shower now.
Get
it off.
So let's talk about Hannah and Ben. They definitely were butting heads again this episode. It started out when Hannah said to Ben that he shouldn't have brought Danny into the galley, and also that he brought the food out too early. So it just seems like they're always fighting about something. They never can just be peaceful.
I'm telling you, Allie and Noah from The Notebook. Well, they love each other, but they hate each other so much.
I think they're perfectionists too, both of them.
Very,
and they're both
definitely.
like
strong-headed,
controlling over their domain. And honestly, I understand where Ben's saying it's his kitchen, but at the same time, it's her workspace too. She has to be in charge of what's going on as well and how it's all paced and everything. So, I think they're just going to keep butting heads the rest of the charter.
Yeah.
It seems like that they are both perfectionists. And I think I've stressed this from the start of this season. It seems like Hannah, sometimes in confrontation, is a little uncomfortable or gets quick about it. But it actually seemed like she was being pretty level-headed when they were conversing. I think also the most frustrating thing, and it came through in this episode for sure, is that when she's talking to Ben is clearly sticking up for Danny at all costs. And so that also definitely is an underlying theme of frustrating Hannah. Mm-hmm. Not just Ben saying this is my kitchen, but saying this is my kitchen and I want Danny to help me in it. He can be in it. And I think that's the part.
And I don't care what you have to say.
I think that's
this is
the
my
part
kitchen
that Hannah really can't handle.
Yeah.
That, because Danny is Danny and that's the thing. So
right. Well, because in like every episode when they do butt heads, they come back, they kind of talk things out, and then they're all supportive and lovey-dovey. But yeah, with this whole I guess shot at Hannah that Danny's on my side, I want him in my kitchen, and
that was
your opinion doesn't matter. I think that's more it's just going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
they never gets better.
Found a compromise because just to say, well, this is the way I want it. She was saying, I'm trying to work with you and allow him in here to help you out. I see that he's helping you, but be mindful of my situation and the job that I'm trying to do at the same time. Mm-hmm. And, additionally, as Joseph Boza just brought up, Zoom whistle, she had a migraine the entire time.
You could tell.
Yeah, she was worn out. I felt bad for her. Okay. I think that she, having to deal with those drunk people and be a woman who's very attractive. I'm sure they were making
at the
moves
top of their
on
lungs.
them. Yeah, I mean, we even heard with Tiffany, he was or Julia, he was oh, your accent. And
everything. My gosh, yes.
Also,
German accent.
Yeah, the German accent. Really?
What a moron.
Ladies, friends in the comments, live chat, whenever you're watching this, in this episode, they played at the start, Marry, Shag, Kill. And I want to play Marry, Shag, Kill right now with you, ladies.
Wait,
so
can we just say date?
Of the three, Brian, Bobby.
All the men on the boat. Okay, Captain, any of the men that are on the boat. Marry, Shag, and Kill.
Shag Bobby.
Okay.
Kill Danny.
Okay.
And marry Captain.
Okay. Jamie?
Oh gosh, I don't know yet.
All right, Maddie?
I mean, mine's the same as Angela's. I want to marry Captain Mark.
He seems
seriously
nice.
the sweetest person ever.
Captain Mark is
He would take care of you. But then he'd leave you for months at a time to go yachting. So,
You wouldn't want to marry Ben? He'll cook you dinner forever.
Oh, I didn't know Ben was an option.
Ben.
Oh my God.
Men. Any
I
man
would
on the
shag.
show.
Well, I don't know if I'd shag him, but I would marry Ben for sure. I would love
don't know,
his
Ben
sense
might
of
have a
humor
little sultry
and
side.
his food. I would love it.
Jamie?
I think the Ben would be definitely a good husband choice because then he'll cook for you.
right.
So,
but he
yeah.
also might be...
I'll just avoid the other two.
That was smooth. I like that, Jamie. Well, anyways, you guys can tell us in the live chat right now and tell us in the comment section, who would you marry, shag, and kill?
That's a good one.
Okay, so was Hannah flirting with Bobby just to get back at Ben, or does she actually really like him?
Hands down, yes. That's what any girl does. You flirt with the guy that's, within close quarters. I mean, that's what I would do. I know it might sound a little...
It felt like, from a guy's
whatever,
perspective and what I saw, that it was like a way for her to boost her self-esteem or confidence after
Yeah.
kind of having a rough
he
patch
shot
with
her
Ben.
down.
So she's moving on to Bobby. He's kind of open and available, and it seems like it's an easy move on, and it boosts her, happiness.
She's always like, if you just shut his mouth.
I know.
But that's the thing. I hate that part.
I think that she is emotionally more attracted to Ben, but physically extremely attracted to Bobby, who wouldn't be. I think this is week 6 or something on this, yacht they're on together.
Yeah.
She's probably getting a bit, horny.
Stir
she's
crazy.
like, she's probably like, I'd like some action, and it's fun. Like, it's fun to flirt. Like, what girl doesn't like to flirt?
Julia does.
Well, that's different. If you're in a relationship,
This is
and
where
I'm
I'm going with that. Julia is a flirt. She has a boyfriend. She's been very clear, like, I have a boyfriend. I love him so much, so whatever. But did you guys feel that she might have been a little tiny jealous
Yes,
I was
of
gonna ask
Hannah
you.
when Hannah was talking about wanting to get with Bobby?
Yeah.
And she didn't
She's
really
like,
say
he's
much.
funny, he's cute, he's hot. Like,
Yeah, and then of course the
yeah.
commentary, she's like, "Oh, go for it, get him off my back."
And
but
I think that leads to what we've talked about throughout the season, though, that sometimes I felt like there was points where maybe Julia was leading Bobby on just a little bit, just giving him a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Even if she doesn't mean it, it's
I
not
agree.
on purpose. It's
Right.
just her natural personality
I
gives that
agree.
off, and she's so fun and kind and loving looking and acting that you could
right,
mistake
and I feel
that.
like English people are very affectionate, right? No, am I
I
wrong?
think
Am I
the
way
thing is
off?
actually to have like a stiff upper lip, and they're kind of like actually not super affectionate.
Julia's,
I mean, that's,
Julia's
Missed
breaking
that
the
one
mold.
by 5 miles.
I think that she's just really cute and bubbly. I mean, who knows? Like, you know what I mean? How can you generalize the whole
How about
nation?
Julia? You tell us. Describe yourself for
Because
us.
whenever I've met, I'm just gonna say, whenever I encountered an English person, they go 1, 2, kiss on your cheeks when they say
Oh,
hi.
well, that's a greeting, but
But
not.
I don't care. That's affectionate. If I'm gonna come up to you, Mike Rips, and be like, "Hi, I'm Maddie." I don't know.
I think that's like a European thing. But
Okay.
anyway,
That's the European.
I'm affectionate. I rest my case.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be weird if there was a guy that was into me and then all of a sudden he's into my best friend. I don't know. I just feel like it'd be weird. But I mean, maybe I would be like, go for it. But at the same time, I would be slightly jealous, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a little...
People are saying Hannah needs to stop playing Bobby if she likes Ben, Sylvia Love. I don't think she is playing Bobby, though. I think she's actually, like, wanting to hook up with him. And I don't think Bobby is looking for a serious relationship with
I think
Hannah.
he's just trying to
I think
get
they're
it
just
in.
having some fun together.
Yeah.
And we saw them on Watch What Happens Live tonight, and they
yes,
both look gorgeous together. So
Yeah, they were cute. They'd be a cute couple.
they would be a cute couple.
It's funny, though, just because I never saw it coming. Like, this whole time, we were never like, and what about Hannah and Bobby? Like, I just
Right.
never really thought it was going to be a thing.
Right. Well, and sorry, going back to Watch What Happens Live. That's in New York, right? So
yeah.
Yes.
only the cameras were rolling tonight in New York City after they got off Watch What Happens
I
Live.
know.
They're going to be out partying. I bet they're going to be with Andy Cohen. He's a party animal. If only the cameras were rolling tonight.
If you want to see the cameras rolling, I'm going to give a shout out to Hannah right now. She periscopes a lot. You can chat with her
well,
live.
so does Bobby. So
Yes.
Hannah and Bobby
Hannah and Bobby.
periscope
Go
tonight while you
catch them on
guys
the
are out
Periscope.
in New York.
Yes, send us pics.
You're welcome, Hannah and Bobby.
I wish I
Nothing
could be
inside
there.
the hotel room, though. Just out
Oh my
and about,
gosh.
please.
So we did see a little bit more of Jen this episode. You know, we were hoping to see that. Not too much more, but we did see
yeah.
her butt heads with Brian. It was interesting when Brian was explaining like how they were going to dock the boat. He's like, yeah, Jen, do you got that? And it was kind of weird. It was like he was singling just her out.
Oh,
Did
he
anyone
did,
else
yeah.
feel that?
Well, I
definitely.
think that there was something about what she had, maybe like about the docking today. The challenge was very difficult, and maybe her position was like the most difficult of all today. I mean, she always mans that one, but I thought it was just like, are you up for this? Like, do you know what you're in
like
for?
the position of the wind or something like that. Okay.
I don't know
Just the
anything
force, I
about
think, of
yachts,
the wind.
but that was the impression I got.
Well, and I also liked her comeback. She goes, like you said, I'm always on that post, you know, like that's
So
where you've put
snarky.
me since the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
So she kind of came back with a little, you know, attitude like, yeah, I got this because that's where I always am. But, you know, as the episode went on, she kind of needed a little help.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a coincidence or if she did make a mistake, but
Yeah.
you know, she kind of, it seemed like they pulled it together in the end.
Yeah.
And
I
then
kind of feel like they just play that up for the camera.
you think so?
Yeah, you think so?
Because then
Okay.
everything is fine. I mean, it
Yeah,
didn't seem
what's
like
the
it
worst
was.
that's gonna happen? I mean, probably bad things can happen, but I don't know.
It didn't, I thought that was honestly just the way they edited it.
Yeah.
Well, right after that, they had a little weird conversation, and Brian was kind of asking her about her previous boat experience, and Jen was kind of like, well, I like the other ones better because they're more professional. What did you guys, was that weird?
It's all, I mean, these passive aggressive jabs. That's like how these people communicate when they don't like each other. Just, and I get it, but yeah, it was very passive aggressive. I feel like it made things a little awkward. You know, because what was Brian's comeback? It was just
I think
like,
he's
oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, well, I didn't like that because it's very bureaucratic. So it's like
Right.
she's basically just insulting his leadership almost.
I think at this point, it's clear to me at least that as a whole, that the below deck Mediterranean crew, it doesn't have the best chemistry. I think that the
Yeah.
girls have established a decent chemistry with each other.
Bobby
Three
and
of the
Brian
girls.
too.
But as a whole, as a boat, I don't think they have great chemistry. There's a lot of bickering from all angles.
That's true.
Too much as a small group to me. And I get it's a TV show, but I
Miriam's-
think as a whole, they don't have great chemistry. That's just my take.
Miriam says Jen is such a Debbie Downer, and I totally agree. Every time she comes on, it's a negative comment. It's just like, yeah, we've heard you say that you've got the line a billion times, but you know, you screwed up a lot too, and like things haven't been as perfect. Like everything she has to say is negative. Even when they're at dinner, she's like, I can read people like a book. Okay, great. Why don't you have a glass of wine and calm down and be social
Seriously,
with your
let loose a little
crewmates for
bit,
5
girl.
seconds?
Yeah.
Let's get to know you.
Not everything has to be so judgmental and so aggressive and intense all the time.
I wish that we could get more of Jen because at this point, I feel like I don't know Jen at all other than from the
0%.
start. where
Negative,
Zero.
At
yeah.
the start, she was really negative about being in Greece, and then she's kind of just been forgotten.
Yeah.
She gets
I-
very little time.
Do you think that's an editing choice?
I do. I think that
On
maybe they just don't have a lot to say, or they just decided to kind of
maybe not a
cast
lot
her
of
aside.
footage.
The
Yeah.
only
Of
her,
footage
like,
her
being
now is
kind of
really
fun.
when she's like in cahoots with Danny,
Yeah.
or there's some type of little confrontation. But for the most part, she's basically forgotten.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting though, because I feel like sometimes in reality TV they might even make you look more likable, and so they're not even really trying.
Yeah,
They're there
they're not
either.
doing
It's like,
anything.
all right, guys,
so
we can't do anything.
they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna give up on her and just move on with other storylines.
just-
So
Yeah.
In,
she's
in
good.
truth, sometimes they can also make you look worse. I mean, maybe
True.
she's fun and we're not
Right.
They
seeing
coulda
that side of
edited all
her.
the fun
But I will
stuff.
say, I think the next episode is going to be very enlightening because the other girls are attacked by Brian. So I think we're going to see if there's a lot of merit to what she's been saying, that Brian is chauvinistic and Brian's aggressive towards the women. It seems like maybe she is not so far off, is what we're
right,
going to see
right.
with the way Tiffany and Hannah, or
speaking
Julian.
of Brian in general, so far what I've seen recently in the last few episodes, I think we talked about this earlier, is that his leadership and communication could use a little bit. I think it leaves a little bit to be desired. Sometimes I think he just maybe the way he communicates his points, he probably has good points, but sometimes I think just the way he approaches isn't so great. It's usually he's very passive aggressive with the way he talks down to people.
He's an SAE.
And I get it, the frat boy thing. But if he says he's not gonna be a frat boy, then don't be a frat boy. If you're gonna be a frat boy, then own it.
I think it's clear he is and
so-
always will be.
And I get it. When he's drinking, he's like that too. But I think that we've seen this for multiple decades, and it looks like next week it's gonna get worse.
Well, think
My
about it.
bet, I was
no.
just going to say my bet too, he said he's learned a lot from his father, is that his father was a military man.
First thing I thought.
And my dad was
Agreed.
in the Air Force,
Agreed.
and like it's just like a tone about it. And I feel like
Maybe-
he
okay.
has just learned that from his father, and that's the way that he knows how to do it.
a good
And
point.
probably too, when his father was serving back in the 70s or 60s, it's a different world then. So
Yeah,
the way
that's true.
to speak to people is different now than it was then. So that would be my
Yeah.
guess.
Well, I
but-
think he could talk like that to Bobby,
right,
and it's cool.
because
But
Bobby's a firefighter, similar
and
kind
they
of
have a kind of
Yeah.
connection.
romance. Yeah.
It's just the way I think you gotta just
To women.
loosen up the relationship a little bit and not be so stern sometimes. It just comes off as being a little bit military.
Speaking of stern, do you think Captain Mark is not involved enough with the crew, with keeping Danny down, you know, and like kind of settling everyone's beef? You think he's just kind of like, I'm in my headquarters, they're back there. If, you know, like Ben came and talked to him, Brian came and talked to him.
I think he's like a good coach in football. He kind of lets everyone do their job without getting involved, as opposed to overseeing and controlling.
Micromanaging.
Yeah, and no one likes a micromanager. So I think he does a really good job of letting the people handle their areas of the ship, not getting involved, and trying to keep it loose.
Yeah, I think the truth is, too, what we had said earlier in the season, that I think Captain Mark knows the reality of the situation is he can't replace Danny that easily. I think Danny has to screw up majorly to, you know, make Captain Mark go to the place where he's going to find a replacement. Whereas I think in the Bahamas or wherever it was that they usually, the Caribbean. It must be easier to find a replacement. So.
Okay.
Agreed.
But that's my guess.
Yeah, agreed. And I also feel like it would be really unprofessional of him if he was getting into all the gossip and like, oh my gosh, did you see what Danny did? Like that's like not what a leader
I guess not
would do.
meddling in the gossip, but kind of. I guess,
so I think
he's,
you know, he's doing a good job and he's keeping it professional.
Right.
So let's get into the nighttime because that's always my favorite part when
they
go
about
out.
the tip. What about the MVP
Oh yeah.
tip?
So what did you guys think about the MVP tip? And were you surprised?
Go ahead.
Well, obviously, I'm going to say I think it was great by Danny. And I think that regardless of what you think of Danny, I think if anybody gets an MVP tip, it's a team. It's a team. So as a team, hey, it's more money for them. Obviously, he was going out of his way a little bit to show off. And I think that just comes from all the episodes. He's been kind of beat down. This was his time to shine. He was shining. And he got the MVP tip, which is a little weird. But nonetheless, I mean, it's really about the team, and he got them extra money, so that was
he actually did say, like, during that charter, he said it feels so gratifying to be recognized. So
I just feel like he's had weeks of anguish, regardless of what you feel about him, and like him or not like him. And I just think in this moment, it was like he was being acknowledged, and I felt like that felt really good to him. He's talked about he hasn't had any really acknowledgement, and it just must be feel good when a group of people are like on your side all of a sudden. That's all. Whether or not you like him or not, I'm just
I mean, I hear you. Mazel tov to Danny, okay? But in my opinion, it was so rude because it's a team effort. You know, your beds wouldn't have been made if it weren't for the girls doing all that. Your drinks that you were so obsessed with wouldn't have been made if it wasn't for Ben and Tiffany. And it's the whole experience, you know? And other people were having to stay back and clean and everything. That was his job. He was given the privilege to go entertain. He did a good job. But the whole yacht is like a team effort. So I really liked that Captain Mark
said, hey,
he divvied it up.
Give me that.
I think,
you know, great compliment to Danny, but it should be for everybody.
Of course.
I think that was good. I did feel bad for him though, because I felt like he didn't think anyone said thank you or like appreciated him. And that was just a little bit sad.
Chef did. I thought a lot. I thought Chef was
I really think that it's just like the chemistry thing. If they had good chemistry as a boat, anybody gets the MVP tip, everyone's happy. He gets the MVP tip, and most of the people are like, ugh, unhappy. Yeah. And that just goes to show you that the boat, and as a group of people, I wish it was, you know, everyone was kind of pulling for each other, and you get it, you know, they just, not a great chemistry.
Yeah, but I feel like if Bobby had gotten the tip, like everybody would have been happy. I don't think people really would have found it obnoxious.
No one really hates Bobby.
That's what I mean, though. It's like the chemistry is just kind of anti-Danny as more than, you know.
But do you think it would have been expected, like, oh, okay, yeah, Bobby took him out on the beach, got the girls, you know, now it's Danny again, you know, like the underdog kind of getting raised up.
And also praised. I feel like if they do the same thing, all things are equal. If Bobby does it, it's amazing. And then if Danny was to do it, just the way you watch the show, you'd be like, oh, it's Danny.
Hey,
you know what I mean? That's all. It's just a tape.
This is like Tom and Jerry, who always prevails.
But you know who actually... The one time, there was a point in this episode I started to think that Danny, the way he was acting too, he was like Macaulay Culkin, Kevin in Home Alone, because he kept like getting away with the stuff he was doing. They're all like, and it was like, you know, and everyone's kind of frustrated by him.
Yeah, but they couldn't stop him.
He was just like, that's not his thing. Like, he's
oh my God, they all hated it. It was so funny.
Kevin, Daniel's on!
Oh my God.
That's funny. Well, the guests ended up leaving, and then they went and partied and celebrated. And definitely there was some flirtation going on, as always, between Hannah and Bobby, which everyone was definitely noticing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say as always. I feel like this is the first time we've seen a flirtation between Bobby and
every dinner there's always flirtation.
Flirtation. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when
Because I thought you were gonna say between Ben and Hannah.
Oh yeah.
So I was like,
God.
yeah.
I don't even feel like they were really flirting.
No,
this
not
dinner.
they were this time. They were at each other's throats.
Again, butting heads, like getting after each other.
I think that they were like gonna flirt, and then I think just like the positioning, Hannah just got sick of Ben. It was like Bobby's right here.
Thing, right?
You're so right, Michael.
And
Like
then-
I felt like he put his arm around her, and then all of a sudden it was like, I
and she
hate
was like,
you.
no.
And
It
maybe
just
there
went
was
south
like
fast.
alcohol induced, and it got to a certain point. Who knows? But that was kind of where there was a breaking point.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
weird.
And then Hannah just said, "So are we friends or are we work colleagues?" And just brings up this like sort of awkward, very serious conversation to kind
Right.
of ruin the mood a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, oh God, I wish I would have.
She's hurt.
I couldn't write down
She's
the
hurt
quote,
by
but-
him. I think
Because
she likes
that
him,
was bad.
and she was coming from a place of real, and she was drinking, and she was having like a discussion with the guy she has a crush on, and she was like, "What are you doing? Like, do you like me, or are you a work buddy, or what are you even my friend? Like, why would you go to the captain, try and get me fired? What's going on?" I actually
And then he
really
goes-
appreciated her communication and honesty.
Right, and doesn't Ben say like, well, you should take that as a compliment? I didn't get you fired or something.
Yeah,
or like
he
that was a
said
favor.
that was me being generous.
Which
Yeah.
is ridiculous
Which
because
is-
Captain thought that Ben was ridiculous to go.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that you're right, Angela, about the way Hannah feels too. Because I mean, clearly she's crushing on Ben, and so she's hurt a little bit inside, and I can understand that
I think
totally.
she's
because
mentioned it too before.
She has, and she even in the episode earlier when she was talking to Julia, how he's never made a move at any point
Yeah.
and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah,
and
when
so
they were
She
alone
wanted
or
him
when they were in a
to.
she
group
wants it,
and-
and she's like trying to put it out
Yeah.
there, and I think that Ben is. Sometimes it felt like Ben is interested, and then
He's
there's
playing
times
her
where
at
he's
times,
like
it feels
not
like.
really. So it's a
Yeah.
tough one for Hannah. You got to feel for her a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hannah,
So
we love
hot
you.
and cold all the time.
Well, Ben must have been jealous tonight. She looked good on Watch What Happens
Yeah,
Live.
she looked beautiful.
Damn good.
But-
Slay girl.
And then Danny kind of, I feel like he wants to save Ben and wants to come to like his side and just says, "Hannah, why do you have to start all this drama? You're so ugly. You should eat makeup on the inside," or something like that.
So out of line to get involved in Ben and Hannah's discussion. That was a discussion of two superiors to him, and he had nothing to do with that interaction. I thought it was really
They
out
did
of line.
say it right at
Seriously?
the table with everyone, but I mean, still, it wasn't his place to.
It wasn't
to
his place. They were
pop in
very
there.
much like
I
this.
bet,
Yeah.
I bet you guys are gonna love it. I think you guys are right. Danny overstepped his boundaries for sure at dinner.
I think he like got up and was towering.
It wasn't.
over them,
It wasn't the
you
right
know,
place.
talking
I mean,
down
it
to
wasn't. It wasn't a conversation that involved him. Whatever his feelings, he shouldn't have done that in that moment. And yeah, he was wrong. And so Hannah was definitely right to be
and just-
frustrated in that moment for sure.
Right.
He
and
started
then-
calling really nasty Nate. Like,
Yeah,
that
because
was
like
just
you have an ugly ass personality, blah, blah. And then he goes,
Go
keep
home.
stepping. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna swing at Are you gonna swing at
Yeah.
Hannah?
Yeah.
Watch what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
When
Huh.
all
She
the
could
guys
knock
come
him
after
out.
you, even Ben. Like
she
Ben
could
would.
knock him out on her own. I
Yeah,
feel.
exactly.
Danny, go home.
Yeah, well, and also it's just weird because usually if you're gonna start the drama, you would say something like, "Hey, why are you starting the drama?" I don't know. It was just it didn't seem like he was trying to avoid the drama at that point.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was definitely trying to start
Totally
it.
meddling. And again, like we've always said, it might just be theatrics, but it's also Danny, and he's done this before where he'll just like step in on someone's conversation.
Good point, Maddie, because that's what Hannah actually brought up when we were chatting with her last week, is that from day one of meeting Danny, she felt that he was doing things for the camera. And that is a case in point right there. Involving yourself in a conversation you have nothing to do with. If you're just there to make everybody happy, then why are you starting a fight? They were discussing it and working it out, and they worked out situations every time in the past. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good point.
So, I mean, yeah. Well, and then I guess I wanted to ask another thing for you guys was that when Jen and Danny were talking about, like, they were like, I can see fakeness from, or whatever. It's so fake. Were they talking about the Ben and Hannah situation or, like, the Bobby and Hannah flirtation? Like, what was so fake about that dinner? I didn't
I think they're
understand
generally
it.
just talking about some of the people.
Just
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah,
people.
I think that they. I mean, it's clear that they don't like Brian.
Yeah.
He's number
yeah.
one on the list. It feels like to me.
But we
And
didn't even see
and
Brian at
Hannah,
dinner. What was he doing?
They showed him in the he was
He
there,
did-
but
yeah.
he talked about, you guys want to go out after this? And-
Yeah.
But I think that's what they just mean. I think
I think
you know
you're
what I mean.
right.
I think it's just there's clear dissension amongst the group.
Yeah. And probably Jen and Danny are hanging out the most together on deck, and it's like the pairings, and Julia and Hannah, and then Ben too is in that mix. So it's like
also we have to remember now as the season goes on, they've been together longer, so it's boiling. You know what I mean? It's like a hot pot. It's boiling, and it gets more and more.
Well, and I think we saw that in the preview.
Build.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw that in the preview. Things get a little hot, I guess. Not really in that sense, but boiling
steamy.
hot.
They do.
Steamy.
They get
Predictions.
Yes. Well, speaking of that, let's get into some predictions.
Yes.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
And you guys can also put your prediction on the live chat as well.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think is going to happen.
Just tweet at us. Sure.
Tweet.
What do you guys think for next week?
For next week? Oh. Nose goes first.
Hannah and Bobby gonna get it on, and I'm really excited for it. She's my girl. And I think Danny is gonna cook his goose. It sounds like Hannah was taking info up to Captain about pictures with charter guests, which that I could imagine is just a no-no. What if somebody's snapping pictures of people not fully dressed or
these
whatever?
People own businesses. They're big wigs at these companies. Like if that again gets out on any sort of social media.
I'm sure they have their rules, and then they have like their just don't cross that line.
Right.
And I got the sense that taking pictures of charter guests and sharing them with other charter guests is like an absolute no-no. So
and it's almost like a non-disclosure thing. Like I feel like since you are the wait staff, like you should kind of respect them and watch them, but don't like invade their privacy in any way.
Right.
Oh wait, and Zoom was also said is sick. Danny got sick. So
I think I've used this in the past in my predictions. But I don't think that someone's going to go home next week. I think it's going to be the following episode, but I think it's going to be because of what happens in next week's episode. And I don't know who it's going to be, though, because I feel like there's a few people that could go home.
Dang, this totally messes up
you
my
blew
prediction.
my mind when you said that Chef is going to have to go because he did the other season. He does like other seasons of Below Deck, so it makes me. I'm like, when is he going to leave?
Couldn't they have filmed it in different times though, or
yeah?
I don't know.
I kind of want to predict, like, just overall that maybe, obviously Ben and Danny have an alliance now, and I feel like Jen might get in on that alliance, and then something massive happens where it separates, the crew, like Brian, Bobby, Tiffany, Hannah, Julia,
like
and then them.
Brian might be on his own island next week.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what it
true.
looks like. But we'll see.
Is that what you're predicting?
Well, it just looked like from the previews that everybody might be
like Julia, Hannah, Jen, Danny. Maybe Danny and Hannah will find a common enemy.
Oh God!
Oh man!
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine? No, I can't. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I want to see more from Tiffany and Brian because we haven't seen anything about the relationship for like 2 episodes now. I think.
I know.
It's like, where is that gonna go?
What if it just, like, people just start hooking up? You've got Bobby and Hannah, Brian and Tiffany, and then all things go to hell, and then
this is Maddie's secret.
This is Maddie's
dream.
What you want?
Maddie likes
literally
this.
what makes reality. Anyways, guys, these are great predictions. So.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to see what happens. And if you guys have a prediction, you can tweet it throughout the week or just leave a comment below. And we always love to hear what you think. And thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I'm Jamie Banks, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JamieBanks_, and also on Facebook. And with me,
I'm Angela Struck, and you can find me on Twitter at TheAngelaStruck and on Instagram and Snapchat at Angela Struck.
And I'm Madison Conklin. You guys can find me on Twitter at Maddie Says This and on Instagram at Conklin, CONKLYNN, and Snapchat at Maddie Conklin, 2Ds IECONKLIN.
And if you can remember all that, cheers to you. I'm Michael Rippe. You can find me all over social media at Mike Rips. It's right here in the toolbar. We'll see you next time.
thank you guys. See you next week.
Guys.
Bye.
From executive
Danny
producers
said-
Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
Guests herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.